but I think we should be back on track now. For those who are just jumping in or who missed the technical difficulties, good on you. But we are talking about healthy Christian marriages. I'm joined with Pastor Lisa, Deacon Debbie, and Deacon Sylvester. And Deacon Sylvester was just about to drop some nuggets on us of what a healthy Christian marriage looks like.
What I was saying was that as men, I would say, I hear you. And my wife would say, the walls can hear me, which is true. So we have to it's not just a point of hearing, it's a point of listening to what she's saying that develops into a healthy marriage. Because we as men, we want to hear you and just and move on to whatever. But that's in a marriage, it's not going to work like that. Just hearing what she's saying, because when you do that, it turns your wife off, because all you're doing is hearing her. You're not listening to her. You're not getting what she's saying, because what she's saying is from her inside. From this 42 years, it's what she says, how she says, and where it's coming from. You have to understand and put in context what she's saying. So, and my point is, sometimes I'm hard of hearing. I'm stubborn, and I just want her to just finish saying what she's saying, so I can go ahead on and finish watching TV or whatever. But now I'm growing to the point that I need to hear what she's saying, but also I need to listen to what she's saying. And the other point is where she comes from and where I come from, the background is totally different. What she saw in her side of the family is different what I saw on my side of the family. Mm-hmm. So you have two different families being united, and everybody has their way of talking, way of doing things. Yeah. So over the 42 years, I've learned that I have to pay more attention to what she's saying, not just, okay, I hear you, and just because what it is, I'm dismissing her. When you start to dismiss your wife, a lot of other things come in to play. So when you dismiss her on this, then you're going to dismiss her on that. So, and then she loses her feeling being able to not just talk to you, but to communicate with you. And women want someone that they can communicate with, different levels, whether it's a hard conversation or whether it's a soft conversation. That woman needs to know that that person she's with is going to listen to her and hear what she's saying, because some of what she's saying is coming from down deep. Some of it could be just off the top of her head, but a lot of times it's something that she has to get off of her chest. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to listen to her, not just hear her, listen to her. And when she's done, then let her be done. That way, when you want to watch the game or you want to do something, that part is over. So it's a long road in being, trying to get a healthy marriage, but for the most part, you have to have God centered. God has to be in the midst of your marriage. Because if God is not in the midst of your marriage, there's going to be confusion. And God is not an author of confusion. Yeah. He doesn't do it. So you have to put God first and ask him to give you what you need in this marriage to make it work, to get to a point where it's healthy. Like she said, what y'all see now, it didn't just happen overnight.
It took 41 years.
41 and a half
It took 41
41
years.
and a half years, Mom does.
And like I said, then it comes, dating is a good part of your marriage too, because what you do when you're dating is supposed to carry over in your marriage life. Because when I met her 42 years ago, I act silly in front of her, because that was my way of maybe not dealing with it. But it was something that she liked, because I was being myself. I was being silly. We was on a cookout on the drive. I was being silly, but cooking, but making her laugh at the same time. And it came and it went. It came and it went. Now it's to the point where, as though I'm more in tune to where her heart went. I'm more protective of her heart. So I try to be, that husband that she wants, that protector, that provider, But it's not an easy road.
Gotcha. So number one is definitely has to be a God-centered marriage. God has to be at the center of your marriage. Number two, I extracted is communication. Communication is definitely a factor. And that's dope if we're talking just like surface level of how do we do this. But I want to go deep here. Not how should it be done, but you guys, as I said, 42 years for us in the ministry is a prime example of even not expecting it to happen overnight, but you went through the wars. You know what I mean? You went through the hell of hells to get to where we are. And we have two couples in the house and we got couples online, and we not about sugarcoating nothing. The reality of it is, as married couples, especially in leadership and ministry, we go through things. And, at the end of the day, I can't not show up and carry out my responsibilities because me and Pastor Lisa had an argument this morning. Or, I can't not serve, or I can't not be in place because, we disagree and we beefing right now. So the whole car ride was silent. Then I got to come and smile in everybody's face. Like, what does it look like, even like in those times of, let's isolate it to ministry for the moment. How do we handle disagreements within our marriage in the ministry aspect of it?
And peanut gallery. And that's exactly what we were talking about a little bit earlier. And I'll say it again just in case it fell off during the technical issue. By no means do I want anybody to think that this has all been sunshine and roses. This has been 42 years of decisions, 42 years of this is what we're going to do, and no matter what, this is the way we're going to face it. There are things that work for us in our dynamic that may not work for somebody else. So surface level as a model, I think it's important to understand that longevity doesn't mean healthy. It just means that you made a choice, that you made a decision, okay? And what is very important in your marriage is to be open, to understand that you are never going to reach that point of perfection. That idea that little girl had sitting on the floor of being married and everybody's going to be happy and we're going to have all these kids and life is just going to be it's not real.
With the white picket fence.
It's just not it's not reality.
No.
There are days, there are weeks, there are months that you are struggling, whether it be a financial struggle, whether it be a psychological struggle, whether it be family dynamics, depending on where you are when you come into that marriage, and into that relationship. That those dynamics you have to work yourself through. You learn to compartmentalize things. So if I am arguing with you on the way to church, I have to find a way to take that off the table, do what we have to do. And if we get back in the car and finish our argument, then we get back in the car and finish our argument. If we get back in the car and we're not speaking until 2 days later, I mean, that will be our dynamic, okay? But like I said, there are things that we just took off the table. So what we are not confronting is, well, this is just the end of the marriage, I'm done, okay? Because if that was the case, then we wouldn't be sitting here. Because this would have been done a long time ago. But we took that off the table before we even walked down the aisle. That was something that we said that we were not going to do. There were certain things that we were not going to do as far as our children were concerned. There was a household that we were going to provide for them because of the dynamics that both of us grew up in. So there were things that were already off the table, okay? And sometimes that's hard to hold on to, because sometimes it's easier to just walk out the door. You know, sometimes it's just easier to just let it go. You know, well, we were 22 when we made that promise, and we're 35 now, and things are different, but it was still important. It was still a promise. And not only was it a promise that we made to each other, it was a promise that we made to God.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's not something that either of us took lightly. Okay? So, yeah, you're going to argue. Yeah, you're not going to like each other all the time. Okay? That in-love feeling that you had in the beginning is not something that may carry over or carry through. It pops in and out. Okay? But your relationship is the relationship that you decide to make it. Understanding your partner, accepting your partner, and in that, I have to say to our married ladies and our single ladies and men as well, you can't change anybody.
Say that again.
Okay, and that is very important. And I know that those are words that we say all the time, but it is very important. You cannot change anybody, okay? That person is going to change when they understand their behavior and they decide that this is something that I need to change. When they're accountable to how they're acting or the elevation that they need to make. You can see it. You can argue it down to to your blood, sweat, and tears. And they can try to do it for you, but if they don't see it, it reverts right back. Okay? You can't change people. So you accept them for who they are and grow through it. Because maybe the change is not them, maybe the change is you, and accepting the fact that they are not going to change. And then you have to ask yourself, am I okay with this? Can I live with this? Can I do this? Is this okay? Okay? I got to a point in our marriage where my prayer was, Lord, if it's not going to be, if this is what it is, if it's never going to be any different, then help me to accept the fact that it's never going to be any different, and help me to be what I need to be in that particular situation. Okay? This is the way it is. This is what we're going to do. This is the way it's going to be. Is it me? Because if it's me, then I need to make some changes. I need to be accountable. It's about what I'm doing and what I'm saying, because there's nothing that I can do or nothing that I can ever say that's going to make him change into whoever I think that he should have been when I was 12 thinking about my perfect husband. Okay? I mean, you have to do that. And people are who they are. My mother-in-law told me before I got married, you like picking up socks? Because this boy don't ever pick up his socks. Think about what you're doing, because he's never going to pick up his socks. 42 years later. The socks are still on.
You still don't pick up your socks?
Socks. I put them in my shoe. But it's
So, but I'm saying that just to say, a person is who they are, and you have to, and you accept either that's the breaking point of your marriage. If you don't pick up your socks, or you just don't walk on that side of the room where you're going to see the socks on the floor. Okay, you just decide what's important. You decide what's important.
Yeah, it's that's that. Wow, socks. But she's right. If you're going into a relationship and if you're going into a marriage, you have to know the person that you're with, what their quirks are. What's their ups and downs. What's that point that pushes them over the edge. My wife Deb, when she gets mad, I know when she's getting mad. I knew how she got mad before I married her, but her madness and her temper didn't push me away. That was her. So if I'm going to be with her, I'm going to have to accept her madness. I'm going to accept her temperness. I'm going to accept when she gets mad, she uses words that I don't like using, which that's fine. She's my wife. Because I told people when I'm working, you don't have a right to use profanity on me. I said, you're not my wife. If you're not my wife, you can't use that word with me. Now with my wife, she can go off, she can fly off the handle because she's my wife. If that gets her to the point that gets it off her chest and 5-10 minutes later we find, then
She get that grease.
she gets that. She's the only one that gets that. Anybody else, and I just don't. But that's part of the marriage. It's a give and take. Do you want to put up with this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to put up with it, then don't put the ring on the finger. Whatever it is. Whatever the case may be, if you think for a moment that you can't handle that, don't put a ring on it. Don't walk down that aisle. And you have to, and we as men, and I'm just speaking as men in this setting right here. We have to learn to own up to when we make mistakes and when we're wrong.
Yeah.
We have to be accountable for us. Because if we're not accountable for us, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. It ain't going to work. And it's not directed at you. That's just the way we are. Because we don't like being wrong.
Yeah.
One, we don't like being wrong. We don't like being called when they see it. We don't like being called out because we're like, no, I don't want. That's part of the relationship. That's part of the building. That's part of making your marriage strong when you can accept what is coming from your partner. When you can accept that and know that it's coming from the heart and all she wants to do is for you to be better, that's the only reason why it's 42 years. Because she wants me to be better. Because she sees something in me that I don't see in myself. I was a person that didn't think that I could really do anything. I always go after something and always fail. Or I was put in my mind I can't do it. But my wife, Deborah, said, you failed already. I'm like, what do you mean I failed already? I'm trying. She said, no, you failed already. Why? Because you spoke it to yourself. Now, see, when you get someone that can point out your weakness and tell you that if you stop saying that about yourself, you can do it, that's when you know you have someone that cares about you.
You got to help me.
that's your helpmeet. That's your partner that's going to push you into what you need to be doing. And I thank God for Deborah, because if it wasn't for her, I don't know whether I would be sitting here or not. Yeah. Because she cares not just about me, she cares about my heart.
Yeah.
You know, and it's rare to find a woman that cares about someone else's heart. And for someone that can make a promise and don't make a promise, and we always know promises are made to be broken, she doesn't make a promise that she can't keep. Now, if you want a friend, she'll be your friend. But if you want that friend to side with you and everything, don't ask Deborah to be your friend, because she's that friend that's going to tell you what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's her strong suit, and that's what makes her special.
Yeah.
That's what makes her my wife, because she's special to me. And in 42 years.
I think we all need to be in a place where whether it be husband or wife, you're open enough to where your spouse can check you. And when I say check you, because I know that's a sensitive word for a lot of men, but on the level of that, you two are naked before each other. There's no hidden things, there's no secret places, and I'm man enough, mature enough, and spiritually grounded enough to when you see something that's not what it should be, you can call me on it, and I respect that. Yeah. Furthermore, that I'm not looking for you to just be in my corner to say yes. I'm not looking for you to be in my corner just to be a cheerleader, but I'm looking for you to be on my corner, standing next to me, and to also give that insight that you may see something that I'm not currently seeing. You may see something spiritual that I don't see. You may have some type of intellect or intel of something that I'm blind to in that moment or that season for whatever the reason, but be comfortable enough that just because I'm the man of the house doesn't mean that I'm always right.
Right.
Or just because I'm the man of the house doesn't mean that I know, whatever the best is, or I said it, so that's final. I honestly believe that a lot of relationships in ministry fall because of a power structure, and we don't know our lanes.
Yeah.
I believe that in every marriage there should be a clear understanding in the beginning, or even as we go, it needs to be assessed and updated as we're going. These are our lanes, and when we stay in our lanes, we're good, and not restricting any person in the marriage to any one thing, but having a clear level of understanding and expectations.
Right.
And when the expectation is that when I'm out of pocket, you can check me. There's a way to do it. There's a way to address me. But when I'm out of pocket, please let me know. When I'm out the box, let me know. You know what I mean? Like in marriage, we have to be at that place where I can accept it from you. Like you said, out on the street, they can't talk to me this way. Now, I don't know about you, but Pastor Lisa can't talk to me any kind of way either. But I'm just saying, what's in my house, I deserve respect. And if you angry, you can be angry, but sin not, because don't talk. I'm sensitive. Hey, man, listen, let me tell y'all, my wife came a long way. When I met my wife, she was one of those real gangster ones that don't submit to nobody, ain't trying to hear nothing nobody got to say, especially not no man, because that's her dad raised her real strong. Like, she an independent woman.
She don't look like that.
Boy,
she doesn't.
Let me tell you, but God, and I'm grateful that she was raised the way that she was, that she is a strong, independent woman. Because that's what she brings to the table.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, I have a wife that I have to take care of and I got to take it. No, I have a partner that's doing life with me. I have a partner that when I'm lacking, she's bringing up the rear. And it's in whatever area is needed. She's not a housewife. Right. She's not a mom that just takes care of the kids and cooks and cleans. No, she's a partner in this. Like we're doing life together. She's soon to be business owner. Like we're doing life together. We're meeting at the table as partners, not as head of house and then submissive. Yeah. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think that, like I said, starting out, that it's important that yes, we know our lanes and that's clearly communicated. and we clearly communicate what's expected from one another. I think that's one of the biggest things, that we look for our partner to deliver on something that we did not make clear that this is what we expect. For instance, Pop said, it's cool for Mom Deb to let off on me. Well, Pastor Lisa, no. If you want me to hear anything you got to say, there's like this switch. I used to say when I was younger, when you yell at me, I shut down. And I didn't realize in the moment, but I literally spoke that thing over my life. Somebody on 10, I stop hearing what you're saying. It's not even I'm ignoring you. It's just my brain can't communicate the fact that you're yelling. I'm trying to process why we're so loud. And I think it comes from doing so many years and doing security. One of the tactics we're taught, and working in clubs when people are upset and drunk, and managing alcoholic behavior or whatever, is no matter how loud they are, for me to remain at a low level. Because if I continue to talk quiet, you eventually have to come down to where I'm at to hear what's being said. But there's a switch in that head of mine that just, once you yelling, I don't know. So Pastor Lisa, you can say whatever you want. Whatever you got to get off your chest, baby, please communicate with me. Say it to me, let me know. But you can't yell at me because I'm not going to hear it. But that's a clear understanding that we have. And when we don't have these understanding in our relationships, we tend to try to hold our partners to an expectation that was never communicated. So I can't expect you to deliver on something that I never told you. This is
exactly
right.
I never told you that I'm not okay with this, so I can't expect you to respect the boundary that I never set. So I think it's important in communicating, like we said, is number one, or number two, God being the center of our relationship. Number two, communicating, but going deeper in that communicating boundaries. I think it's, if you haven't in your relationship done it already, tonight is a good night to have some hard conversations and some communication of boundaries. This is okay. This ain't okay. Dr. Pam Ross made it very simple. This is what we do here. We don't do this here.
Exactly.
It's the same thing applies in every area of life. Literally, since she taught that, I've been modeling that at work. And it has to be modeled in your relationships as well, not just with your spouse, but your children, anyone. This is what we do. This here,
we don't do.
We don't do this. So again, I can't stop harping on it. Communication, yes. Setting boundaries, definitely. Having clear lines of understanding. Few questions, because we're getting close to time. That messed us up a little bit. I don't know which way I want to go first. So for me, a long time, finances was a struggle for me. I want to say in part because I've worked probably since I was like 17, 16. And that was what I earned was mine because I earned it and I worked hard for it. And starting out, I just had to provide for me. Well, then came my wife and then came children. And now I got to provide for everybody. And it's initially was an issue for me dealing with finances collectively as a unit. So my question is, how do you guys deal with, finances within the marriage as far as responsibilities? What's in your 42 years, what's become the best way to have that not be a hiccup or a hindrance in your marriage?
At one point early, I was okay. Then at another point, I for whatever reason, I guess I lost focus. I wasn't good with the finances. So she was, to me, Deborah was better at financing everything. But now she's like, look, you need to know everything, where's the money going at, all like that. So finances can make you or break you. In any relationship, because when you're working and this check has your name on it, you think it's yours. Now, if you buy yourself, it is yours. But when you have a wife, kids, gas, electric, and if you have a car note, that checks out. Even if your wife is working, that money's not yours. That's the house money. You know, we got to buy food, Pampers, you know, paid electric, gas, water, all that. So if you struggle with finances and wanting to keep the money, then I don't think marriage life is I don't think
that's a whole non-starter.
I don't think that's
from the beginning.
Marriage is not for you, because they're saying what's mine is hers and what's hers is hers. All right, but that's world. It don't work like that.
I said that ain't of God. I ain't hear that in the spirit.
It don't work like that. It don't work like that.
You literally got a divided audience here, where the women's like, yeah,
I like that.
and the men said, no.
But it's not like that. Now, I look. I love all y'all, but if y'all think y'all can keep all the money and I have nothing, it's gonna be a thing. All right. For example, I give her money. All right. I work on cars. I fix cars. All right. But if it's something that needs to be done to the car, I don't want to be able to come and ask my wife for money, because now I'm taking money out the house to fix the car.
Yeah.
So if I give you an amount for the house, that's it. Whatever the change is left is mine. So if I need to fix the car, if I need gas, I have the money for the gas. I'm not taking anything away from the house.
Yeah.
Now, if that's how I work. Mm-hmm. Whatever I have left, I have to make do. I'll make do with what I have. Now, as long as I know is the bills okay, and I'm getting to that point that I need to know everything that's going on, because I'll go out and work. I've done it, and there's man working hours and not being home, but I don't want to do that no more.
Yeah,
I want to work and I want to come home and I want to make sure everything's all right. But finances is a major key in a relationship, a major key, because that money is the root of all evil. It will change you in a heartbeat, because you're gonna see things, you're gonna want to do things. If you, like I said, if you by yourself, go ahead, run for it, shoot for the moon. But if you got a wife. Now, I mean, if you have a wife, not just a wife. If you have a wife, that's like,
there's a difference.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I mean, because like I said, your wife, you have to be able to accept when she call you and say, look, all right, you gave me this, but I need it, you need to take care of this. You need to do this here. Whatever you got in your pocket, what you gave me, I used already. So now we need paper towels. All right, I got extra change. All right, I got to. All right, you already used what I gave you. All right, I got to go with the paper towels. So I have to do what I have to do. So you have to be able to compromise. That's the other thing. You have to compromise, living together.
Yeah.
Because you're going this way. Both of you. You want to go in one direction. How is it that she wants to go this way, but then you want to go this way, then all of a sudden you want to veer off and go that way? How's it going to work? That's going to cause confusion. It's like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were going in the same direction.
Yeah.
But now you going right, I'm going left. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Money is a major key in marriage or in a relationship period.
And you just have to find, and again, it comes back to communication.
Yep. That's what it sounds like.
You have to find that niche that works for your house.
Yeah.
For your house. There are dynamics where, and I heard somebody say this a couple of weeks ago, and if it was working in my house, I would be as happy as a clam. He said, I'm responsible for the bills. I'm responsible to maintain the home. Her check is her check to do with what she wants to do.
God bless him.
That's what I said.
God bless him.
That's what I said. And I really wish that was 100% of the marriages that are out here. But your dynamics change. So there are marriages where the woman is more financially competent and she's really on top of everything that needs to be done. And that doesn't make him any less of a man to come home and turn over his paycheck. Okay?
She
But I
said,
think
turn over his paycheck. See, that's the way you say it. That's what made it hard. See, because I was hoping Deke didn't say it, because he said it in the men's fellowship one day. He was like, yeah, you just take that check and you give it to her. You just turn it over. I'm like, turn it over? Hold on, wait a minute. Turn it over.
But I'm telling you,
See, it's the way you talk to me. You got to be careful how you say it.
And it is really old school, because I know some households that really operated like that. He came home and he just handed her check and he went on. But I think it's really important that you have yours, his, and then ours. Yeah. Okay? And it may take some steps to get to that point. You may have to have an ours for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay? Before you are able to branch off into putting some money aside for the two of you, because you have to make sure that your house is stable. You have to make sure that everything is okay. And if it's not, then that causes other issues, because whoever is the person that is primarily responsible for those finances, that's a weight that they're carrying. Okay? And if you're not carrying that together, okay, or if you're not even aware of what's going on financially, then that leaves that one person carrying that whole financial weight and every worry that comes along with it.
Yep.
And that spills over into, I don't believe you did that with the toothpaste.
I just bought that toothpaste.
Okay, but I mean, you go off on something stupid.
Something not even
Something stupid, because without that awareness, we can't even have a conversation.
Yeah. You're right.
You know, we can't even have that conversation, because you're not going to know what I'm talking about.
That's funny, because that's literally part of our household. So in past lives, past years, y'all want to talk about some horrible credit? I had the horrible credit, and did some work to build it. And the way it works in our house, I do not surrender my check. However, we have a joint account. A larger percent of my check goes to our joint account, and then there's a percentage that goes to my personal account. Again, for the record, I do not surrender my check. I do not turn it over. It goes into the pot of the joint account. But one of the things that I did, because I trust Pastor Lisa with the finances, I literally took my hands off of it. And when I say took my hands off of it, to the point where I ain't know nothing. I can't tell you how much the electric bill is. I can't tell you how much the gas bill is. I can't tell you how much we load left on the mortgage. Hallelujah, that house is paid off. I'm sorry, I had to celebrate right quick. But even that, I couldn't tell you where we were in the mortgage. I know what the plan was that we discussed when we moved into the house. It's a 6-year mortgage. We're going to do it in 4 years, and we're going to keep it pushing. I knew what the plan was. I didn't know tuition for DJ was going to be as much as it was, but I know it's paid. So what I know is I go to work every day. What I know is every other week a check is deposited, and I don't even have to look at it because it's already there and it's in the account. So everything should be good. I know what I make. I know how much I make. I know how much goes into the account. I know we got bills, but we make enough because I do enough to earn enough, so we good. We should be straight. But not realizing the fact that I was so detached from it, how much pressure it put on her.
Right.
Not realizing, because I trusted her, which was like, hey, you got this. It was really, no, here, take this burden and you carry it by yourself.
It was another weight.
And then when I got questions and I don't understand something, now I need you to explain it to me. And I don't want you to think about it and let me know. I need to know right now, because I've been working 20-something hours this one day, and I know that money was there, and you tell me you don't know where it went? And it's like, that's not fair to her. But because I detached myself from it literally just dropped all of that weight on her. And I took that position of, hey, I'm the head of the household. I make the money. You figure out what to do with it. But when there's answers that need to be answered, now you want to be involved. Look, what right do I have to come ask now? You ain't want to be involved this whole time. But now when you looking for something, it ain't what you thought it was going to be. Now we got issues. So I think, again, it goes back to that having clear understandings and not, this is the conversation that it goes here. You said his, hers, ours. This is what we do with ours. But I think, again, it has to be, at some degree, we both have to be involved in that.
All right.
Whether it be, and it's not a trust thing, or I don't want that weight to be completely on you. If we're a partnership, we share this thing.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
everything.
Yep.
Every burden of yours is mine. I think one of the biggest things, and I probably never told her this, so she's going to find out now. When I got married, one of the first things Pastor Lisa told me was something about paying off this student loan. I'm like, I don't have no student loan.
You do now.
I don't owe nobody no money. Wait, I owe people money, but I don't owe Westchester nothing. What do you mean? You need what? Why do you know how much money I make? I'm not giving them no money. I'm confused here. And it was like, wait a minute. This is a whole new ball game. Fortunately, she didn't have much debt, but what debt is hers?
Is now yours.
It became mine.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, like this is, all right, well, now we need to talk about some things because I need to know. I need to know across the board what's going on here. What are we getting into? Mm-hmm. Did you have anything you wanted? Because you're giving me that look now. Put the camera on Pastor Lisa because you're giving me an eye.
Right? I know.
The
She
issue
loves
that
your
I
voice.
just having was continuing to get to know your partner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, of course, who you met when you first was dating isn't who's going to stay around.
Exactly.
And if you expect that, then
You're
you
delusional.
probably should get married. Just stay dating. Ultimately.
Till that
But,
feeling goes
yeah,
away.
continuing to know them in every area. Because even when
That's
it comes
right.
to finances, I remember when I finally got him to start traveling international, one of the things that he said was, why are you trying to go all the way around the world? Because I want to see the world. Why don't you want to see the world? And then once we started to have that conversation, have that understanding, then we started to plan for it. Then we started to have finances go towards that. Continuing to know even just where your partner is when it comes to finances. Because it was a season where I did a lot of shopping. And it was before I got married. I barely do shopping. Besides,
Let me tell y'all, this girl always had on a fresh pair of Jordans.
There you go.
These are old.
I said always had on a fresh pair of Jordans.
Okay. You buy me some new shoes?
Yep.
I think it's time to end this podcast. Let me tell y'all something. Pastor Lisa is along the tribe of the Apostle Maishas who request a $500 allowance a week. And I just want to make it clear, you can't get Jordans and $500 allowance.
31 says that she should get what she's desired.
You know what? We are moving on.
I'm gonna pull it up. Again, just to bring it back, continuing to get to know your partner and knowing just where they are when it comes to just life and goals and the different lanes.
Yeah.
Yep. And understand that it's a daily change. I mean, you have to be open.
Yeah.
Because if you're growing together, then be ready for the change. Be ready for the growth and accept it. Be happy that it's coming. Yeah. Okay? In yourself and in your partner. You know, be what they need as they be what you need. And it's not a 50-50. It's not a 10-90. That yin-yang symbol, that's really what it looks like. You know, there are some times when I need you 100%, and there are some times when I need you 10%. You know, I mean, just be open to it. Yeah. Just be open to it. And if you think that your marriage has hit that platform and you're happy with that, then something's wrong. Something's wrong, because it should be changing. It should be growing. You should be growing. You know, your marriage should be different. You're different people. I'm not the same 22-year-old person that married him. Okay? I'm older than that.
Amen.
You know, and we are grandparents. You know, so I mean, there's a whole different dynamic in our existence now, you know, and different levels to what we were and who we are.
Yeah.
You know, so you grow with your partner, and partnership is really the key word. You know, you are partners in this, okay? And you do whatever you need to do for your partner.
Make it right. Yeah.
What had came to mind when you were speaking was one of the things I had to recognize, even when it came to like grieving, because the first impactful death that we had dealt with was our friend dying this past summer. And in that, I had to even just recognize what it is that he needed during that process. In addition to even just grieving myself, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But God is faithful. But even in spite of that, recognizing again just who your partner is, continuing to know them, and continuing to be able to support them even if they are silent, even when it comes to those different circumstances that are new. Because granted, we haven't experienced losing a parent, so it's just like, when you have those major hurdles, continuing to, again, be aware of where your partner is, knowing and recognizing what it is that they need and how it is that you can support them, and just, again, communication. Keeping that airway open so that communication is happening. Because I can say that, at least from that process, our communication got better. He started to open up more as well, and depend on me more emotionally after that happened. But at the same time, he's still a thug, and was still kind of.
I never said I was a thug. I'm just a real one.
I'm a gangster.
I'm a gangster.
Gangster. There's a difference. There's a difference.
I'm not gangster. I'm a gangster.
So he'll still, of course, just try to be all.
Man.
I'm security.
Yes.
Oh, he has to. He has to be. I mean,
Does he?
he can. I mean, he can let go, but he has to. It's a man thing.
We gonna go deeper into bonus content on that. Hold on to that. We definitely going deeper into bonus content on that one. Hold on to that one, because they want a certain thing, but I got you, D. We gonna go there. We gonna go there. I want to do two things. I'm gonna ask you guys one more question, but I want to, because we have married couples in the studio audience, I want to allow them to ask a question, and I'm gonna ask those who are your children to tread lightly until bonus content. Is that cool? Cool.
They're all our children.
Come on, Kaya.
But that's even better, the not married question.
What advice would you give somebody who is looking for marriage?
So the question is, what advice would you give someone who's looking for marriage?
It's a ministry. Don't forget that it's a ministry.
It is definitely a ministry. But be honest with who you are and be secure in who you are. And don't look for somebody to complete you. You are bringing your complete self into a relationship. Don't go into a relationship thinking, take all the sunshine out of it, okay? Because it really is for better or worse. And if you think it's always going to be better, then you're going to be highly disappointed. But I think the most important thing to bring to a marriage is your complete self. You're not looking for anybody to fill in anything. You're not looking for anybody to make you happy. You're not looking for anybody to give you anything. You're bringing all of that to the table. And he should be bringing all of his complete self to the table. And together, you're building something phenomenal. And you can do that now rather than trying to fix it
later
when you're in the marriage. Okay? And the dynamics of that person, their family, is very important. And the old saying is, watch how he treats his mother. Because if he doesn't have any respect for her, he's not going to have a lot of respect for his wife. And those things are true. Some of the things that are old school are still true. But those family dynamics, is he the oldest? Is he the youngest? Is he the middle child? Is he the only boy in the dynamic? All of those things, they sound silly, but they're all important because it all tells you about his mindset and how he handles things and how he approaches things. And her as well. Okay, so the conversation is not just for the woman who is going into the relationship, but the guy that's going into the relationship as well. He has to be complete coming into that relationship. Okay, and he has to know who he is as a man coming into that relationship and his expectations of what he's bringing to the table and his expectations in his wife. And you have to have your expectations of what you want in your husband. And I'm not talking physical, okay, because that's something that you really need to let go.
Say that again.
You really need to let that go.
That's it. That's it.
Because it's not, I mean, when you're 12, it's the best thing in the world. I want him to be 6 feet tall. I want him to, but you really sell yourself short when you hold on to those physical dynamics and those physical expectations. Because the person that can make you the happiest may not look anything like you want them to. And you cut them off because you didn't even give them a chance to even have the conversation, to make you laugh, to touch your heart. Okay, you're selling yourself short. Yeah, and he's sitting in the friend zone, just sitting in the corner, just waiting, right?
Yeah, I think like that was heavy of coming in whole, and not only that, going in with the expectation, like you said earlier, you can't change him. Mm-hmm. So know what you're getting into.
Know what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we said, this is a ministry. You don't play with ministry. Mm-hmm. Marriage is real. Regardless of how bad it get, I understand that me and Pastor Lisa are connected because of God's connection, because there's an assignment there. So if I'm operating through my marriage with an assignment, I can't just give up. It goes back to the question we asked in a few podcasts ago. Why do you do what you do? Well, because it's not my choice. You have to really ask yourself again, sometimes in marriage over and over again, why did I say I do? If I really believe that this was a God sent, a God set ordained marriage, and then that's a question I ask too. Mm-hmm. Did you marry who you wanted to marry because that's who you wanted to marry, or is this what God put in place? Mm-hmm. So I think when making that selection to the single people, make sure that you are God-centered, God-focused when choosing a spouse. And not just going out looking for what you think you want, but allowing God to send you what he's designed for you. I honestly believe that there is a perfect person for you. And as long as you try to categorize them into your check marks, as Mom Deb said, let that go, because that ain't going to be it. But that person will bring to the table the other half of the completeness that you're looking for, that you need And I'll change it just a little bit. Not looking for someone who is complete, but who's complete in him.
Yes.
Because I'm not looking for it. My wife isn't perfect. She's perfect to me. Look at her. Oh my Lord. But I wasn't looking for a perfect person. And even prior to being married and looking for a perfect spouse, what really got me was her love for Christ. What really drew me and made me attracted to her was her worship. So it's like, yeah, you can look for what you want, but your heart and the heart for God is what you really need to be seeking. Because I'm trying to tell y'all, she was really gangster when I met her. Like, she was a thug. And I used to joke and say that, oh, am I going to get in trouble? I used to say that a woman's responsibility was to cook, clean, and childbear, and the practicing thereof. And she said, well, you ain't never going to be married. Here we go. Some years later, she married to me.
And you stopped saying it.
And I stopped saying that. I'll give it to her, and I stopped saying it. As much as she bucked against that, and I was like, although I'm joking, I could never marry somebody like her. The heart that she had for God was like, hey, look at her. This one might work out. Like when I say we was tight, like we was tight. People in our former ministry thought that was my legit sister. Like, Elder Shay sitting in the studio said, I did. I thought that was your sister too. I thought y'all was really tripping. Oh wow. No, but that's because that's what you look for in a spouse. You know, when people that don't know you or know you from a distance would think that you guys like you're that connected. Even if I didn't want to marry Pastor Lisa, that was my wife. There was a connection there that was undeniable. Does she meet everything on my checklist now? Absolutely. I'm much more mature and wise and understand. In the past, no, Pastor Lisa was not what I was looking for. She just dropped from heaven in my lap, and I said, thank you, God, for this gift. But I had to... bonus content. I had to put to the side what I was looking for and see what God was showing me, which was somebody who was focused and whole in him. So I think that's definitely the dopest response. Did you have anything to add to that one?
Also, and like I said, this is speaking from being a husband, being a father, and being a man. When you're dating a man, watch how he acts, listen to what he's saying. And like Deb said, watch how he treats his mother, watch how he treats his sisters, how he's protective of the women that's in his family. Because at some point, we will show you our true selves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's because we're men. Because we're men. We sometimes we get stupid, but we do that. So if you are looking for a man, you look at his heart. Truly look at his heart. Listen to what he's saying and how he says it. And if he's out with you and he's that protective person that he's not going to let anyone bother you, he's a protector. He's going to, most men, they're going to pay the bill. That's what we do. And if he's not looking for anything after that, and he just says, good night, I'll call you, which is very rare.
Bonus content.
She said, bonus content. Slow down, you're going too deep.
But look at just watching. Now, and this is as coming as you know, speaking as a father also. Watch what he does. Watch what he says, and look at his heart. Yeah. His heart is going to tell you who he is, and if that's the person for you.
Good stuff. I'll close with one more question. You're a pastor, you're a deacon, and father, grandfather, grandmother, mother. In all that we have going on in life, whether it be ministry or personal life, how do you maintain your marriage or make sure your marriage remains the priority amidst all of your other obligations, understanding that your marriage is your first ministry?
Because it's something that we enjoy doing together. So if you enjoy being in a ministry together and you enjoy being around people, you enjoy serving people, then it makes it a little easier when you're both on the same page. But if you're not on the same page in that area, it's going to be kind of hard, you know. But you have to think of your marriage and if God ordained this marriage and he wants, this is what he wants the both of you to do. It makes it a lot easier.
And I think you just have to be intentional. 'Cause life is life.
Yeah.
And you're busy. And even if it's only 5 minutes, then take the 5 minutes. Okay, it doesn't have to be, we gotta go away together for a week. Let's just get away from everything, although that's wonderful. But you live in day to day, okay? So even if it's just a phone call, you know, and now a text message. But just be intentional about, I'm just going to take this 5 minutes to say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How you feeling? At the end of the day, how was your day? What's going on? Just be intentional and take that 5 minutes. Take that 10 minutes. Take the time, if you get the opportunity to sit down and eat together at some point during the course of the day. But just be intentional. Just be intentional. Just say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do now. This is what I'm going to make sure that I do before I lay down. We're going to spend this amount of time together. Just us, not talking about ministry, not talking about the bills, not talking about, let's just lay here and watch TV. And we don't have to say nothing, okay? But just be intentional about the time.
Yeah.
Give yourself that time.
That you spend. Yeah.
Give yourself that time.
Pastor Lisa?
I guess because I'm still young, I would say continue to dream together. Yeah. And continue to just want to progress and have greater goals. Simple as that. No. In addition to laughing, because we at least do that via Instagram, if I ever send each other stuff or like
The reels.
the reels.
She be trying to keep me young because I'll be looking at, oh, what is this?
Just whether, it doesn't matter what the topic is, but just continuing to bring and share just newness, broadening the horizon and perspective.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Your turn.
Listen, my turn? What was the question? Honestly, I think you hit it on the head of being intentional. Yeah. Because life happens day to day. You know, I think like it took a little bit of time, but Pastor Lisa figured it out. She's known it for a while. There are some days when I get home from work, I just want to sit here. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to talk about nothing. The TV on, I'm probably not even really paying attention. I just want to sit. Because sometimes life gets that
Overwhelming.
like work could be that overwhelming where I need that for a second. Just give me a minute that. But it's also my responsibility to be intentional as a husband to recognize her needs. I'll backtrack just a little bit. She talked about when, I can't say friend because Kavon was more than a friend. So when my brother passed, I didn't neglect her feelings, but literally the first probably 4 days after finding out, it was, I'm no good to anybody right now. Like, because I don't know if I'm coming or going because I just lost my brother. And it wasn't until probably 3 or 4 days in where I asked her, how are you? Because your connection with him was just as strong as mine.
Yours.
It wasn't like he was just my friend, my brother. Like we did things together. Like everything was together. It was a unit. Anyone that he was dating, they came to our house and they had to sit down and have dinner. Whatever. Like it was, that was us. And like I said, the first 3 or 4 days, like it was, she had to deal with that by herself. And it was because I was not being intentional of being a husband. So I think, like I said, you said, like, do it intentionally, like make that time, prioritize time, even if it is just, we could just sit here together for a second and talk, or whatever the case. Like, prioritize something to your spouse. We get it. Life gets hectic. Life gets crazy. And I may not always want to do it the way you want to do it, or communicate the way you communicate. And I think it's also important, I intentionally answered her the way I did when she asked this, knowing your spouse's love language. Very intentional. And if you don't, there's nothing to be ashamed about. There's a conversation to be had. That's all that is. There's a conversation to be had. But you need to know, or be engaged enough or care enough to know as much as possible about your spouse. Deke said it earlier, the dating aspect. We should never stop dating. And that doesn't mean we're just, going out together and making a date night. But no, intentionally putting just as much effort as I put in to get you, to keep you. There's no reason why you should have ever let up off the gas. Like, it's go the whole time. You want her, you gonna bag her. Now you bagged her, now what you gonna do? You gotta be just as engaged. And ladies, the same goes for you. Because when you don't text me in the middle of the day, say, hey, I was just thinking about you, when that other one do, I might actually pay attention to it. Oh, now it's get slapped. But the reality of it is, you ain't got nothing to worry about in this house. My wife crazy. Let me tell y'all. I got more than one gun, and Pastor Lisa know how to use all of them. I'm not stupid. However, this is what happens. Like, I'm speaking from experience of somebody who I know that was in a marriage that didn't step out on that marriage, but they entertained something. And the reality of it was, when we talked about it, was like, this person gave me attention that my wife didn't. And it's not that my wife wasn't being a wife. It's not that his wife wasn't there. Not that she didn't cook and clean, that she didn't, do everything that she was supposed to do, but allow life to get in the way of being intentional, of saying, hey, I was thinking about you. Hey, how's your day going? So when someone else gave that attention, he paid attention to it. He entertained it. So just as much as it is on us to not just bag and keep it pushing, and to stay intentional in that dating mindset, ladies, it's on you as well to keep your man engaged, keep your man happy. You ain't got to yell about every sock that he don't pick up. You just got to accept that sock sometimes. And when you have a moment after he didn't just come home from work and say, you ain't picked this sock up. Like, hey, I've been picking socks up for 42 years now. Maybe just once, if you can pick that sock up for me and maybe take it down and do some laundry. Something. He said, nope.
I got to pick that sock up on my own.
So definitely being intentional and staying in that dating phase, never getting so comfortable that we're no longer seeking our partner. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I think this was good, man. I enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to this bonus content. Thank you guys for joining us for another House Call Bible Study and Podcast. And again, we are here every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Repost it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you can get your podcasts. Make sure you tune in, join our Facebook group, the House Callers Collective, and you can get some of this bonus content that we're getting ready to get into. All right. Until next week, we love you guys, and we'll see you then.